The 1960s was a golden decade for science fiction. This was the era of 2001, A Space Odyssey, Fantastic Voyage, and the early days of Star Trek. But here's the twist. While critics and audiences focused on the blockbusters and the household names, a whole collection of daring, visionary films were ignored, dismissed, or flat-out ridiculed. Yet, over time, many of those so-called failures turned out to be decades ahead of their time. Today, we're unearthing 12 forgotten sci-fi gems from the 1960s that critics completely overlooked. Some predicted the future with eerie accuracy. Others inspired later classics without ever getting the credit. And a few are so strange you'll wonder how they even got made. So grab your popcorn, because these hidden treasures will blow your mind more than the hits everyone remembers. Let's start with a film that feels like two completely different movies stitched together, The Damned. It begins as a gritty biker gang story, knife fights, leather jackets, rebellious youth culture. But halfway through, the narrative shifts into Cold War paranoia. Beneath the cliffs of Dorset, the government hides radioactive children raised in isolation, engineered to survive nuclear war, but doomed to live without sunlight or freedom. Critics in 1963 didn't know what to make of it. Was it a crime drama? A sci-fi nightmare? They called it uneven and buried it. But today, it's regarded as one of the most unsettling allegories of the decade. It asked a question that still chills us. What kind of world would raise children only to inherit a dead planet? Next up, Mario Bava's Planet of the Vampires. Don't let the pulpy title fool you. This film practically wrote the DNA of sci-fi horror. Two space crews respond to a distress call on a mysterious planet. What they find? Alien remains, eerie landscapes, and a creeping sense of paranoia would directly influence Ridley Scott's Alien years later. Bava had almost no budget, yet created hypnotic visuals with colored gels, smoke, and forced perspective tricks. Critics laughed it off as gaudy and campy, but in hindsight it was revolutionary. This wasn't just about astronauts and aliens, it was about fear, betrayal, and the way space strips us of control. It proved you didn't need Hollywood money to create unforgettable atmosphere. Pure nightmare fuel, and decades ahead of its time. Quatermass and the Pit, 1967. When workers dig up strange artifacts under London, they uncover a crashed Martian spacecraft. Professor Quatermass discovers that humanity's violent instincts may have been programmed by alien engineers. In 1967, critics dismissed it as too talky, too much science jargon, not enough spectacle. But today, it's recognized as one of the boldest sci-fi statements of its era. It combines archaeology, alien meddling, and mass hysteria, showing London collapsing into chaos as Martian influence awakens violence in the population. It wasn't just about monsters or spaceships. It was about us, and whether our darker impulses come from within or were planted by forces beyond our control. That's big-picture sci-fi at its best. Now here's a film that audiences weren't ready for. Seconds, in 1966. Imagine a mysterious company offering you a second chance at life. A new body, a new identity, a fresh start. Rock Hudson plays a man who takes the deal. But what begins as a dream quickly unravels into paranoia and despair. Shot in stark black and white with unsettling camera angles, John Frankenheimer created a claustrophobic nightmare about consumer culture, reinvention, and the illusion of happiness. In '66, audiences hated it, especially seeing Hudson, a matinee idol, in such a bleak role. Critics called it grotesque and unwatchable. But now, it's hailed as a masterpiece of paranoid sci-fi. eerily relevant in our era of plastic surgery, social media, and curated identities. Here's a question most sci-fi never asked. What if there was another Earth, identical to ours, hidden on the opposite side of the sun? Journey to the Far Side of the Sun, released in 1969, follows astronauts investigating this mirrored planet, only to discover a reality where everything is reversed. Critics in 1969 scoffed at its slow pacing and stiff performances, but beneath the surface, it's a haunting metaphor for self-deception. Even if we discover another world, we can't escape our flaws, because we'll only find a reflection of ourselves. The finale, full of disorientation and identity collapse, is unforgettable. It's one of those films that lingers with you long after the credits roll. Before the Hunger Games and Battle Royale, Italy gave us the 10th victim. In this near-future dystopia, murder is legalized as sport. Contestants sign up for the Big Hunt, a televised death match where hunters and victims stalk each other through glamorous cities. Critics wrote it off as shallow, too obsessed with style. But today, its satire feels chillingly real. It turned killing into entertainment, complete with product placement and ad sponsorships, predicting both reality TV and dystopian franchises decades before they exploded. Plus, Ursula Andress's bullet-firing bikini became one of the most iconic sci-fi images of the 60s. Beneath the camp lies razor-sharp social commentary about spectacle, morality, and the price of fame. The Day the Earth Caught Fire, 1961. This British thriller dared to go bigger than aliens or spaceships. It put the entire planet at risk. After nuclear tests knock Earth off its axis, the climate spins out of control. Cities bake under deadly heat waves. Reporters scramble to piece together the truth while humanity stares down extinction. Audiences in 1961 found it too bleak. Critics thought it was too grounded, too grim for escapist sci-fi. But today, it reads like prophecy. Almost a climate change disaster movie made decades before the conversation even started. Its ending is ambiguous. Church bells ring as humanity waits to see if Earth will be saved or consumed in fire. No comfort, no easy answers. Just a haunting vision of what happens when science and politics collide. Before Will Smith, before Charlton Heston, there was Vincent Price, alone in The Last Man on Earth. The first adaptation of Richard Matheson's I Am Legend shows Price as the sole survivor of a plague that turns humanity into vampiric creatures. Critics called it cheap and depressing, but its influence is massive. George Romero credited it as inspiration for Night of the Living Dead. Its imagery of barricaded houses and shuffling infected became the foundation of zombie horror. And Price's performance, restrained, lonely, despairing, turned it into more than just a monster movie. It became a meditation on guilt, isolation, and survival. A year before The Damned, Joseph Losey made another haunting film. These Are the Damned. What begins as a gritty biker gang drama slowly morphs into a disturbing sci-fi allegory about radioactive children hidden in bunkers, raised as humanity's last hope for nuclear survival. Critics dismissed it as confused, caught between social realism and horror. But modern viewers see it as one of the bleakest visions of generational betrayal. It asked, is survival worth it if the next generation has to live in a prison built by fear? Fantastic Voyage in 1966 was dismissed as a gimmick in its day, but it was much more than that. A team of scientists is miniaturized and injected into a human body to save a life. Inside, they navigate arteries like rivers, antibodies like monsters, and the heart like a collapsing cavern. The special effects won Oscars, and they still dazzle today. But the real achievement was its imagination. Exploration turned inward. Instead of charting the stars, the film revealed the human body as the ultimate alien landscape. Not all the gems were films. A for Andromeda, a BBC series written by astronomer Fred Hoyle, shocked audiences in 1961. Scientists detect a signal from space containing blueprints for a computer. When built, it instructs them to create a living organism designed by alien intelligence. Critics found it slow and cerebral, but today its themes of artificial intelligence, manipulation, and blind trust in machines feel alarmingly prophetic. It may not have had the spectacle of Doctor Who, but it dared to explore the costs of scientific curiosity long before AI became a buzzword. Finally, Jean-Luc Godard's Alphaville. Instead of rockets or miniatures, he filmed Paris as a futuristic dystopia. In Alphaville, a calculating computer called Alpha 60 rules the city. Emotions are outlawed. Poetry is banned. Human life reduced to numbers. Critics in 1965 didn't get it. Many dismissed it as pretentious. But its influence is enormous. On Blade Runner, Brazil, and every neon-drenched dystopia that followed. And its warning that technology, logic, and control can strip away our humanity feels more urgent than ever in today's algorithm-driven world. So there you have it, 12 forgotten sci-fi gems from the 1960s. Films once mocked or ignored, now celebrated as bold, visionary, and often prophetic. From radioactive children to mirrored Earths, from alien-engineered humanity to dystopias hiding in plain sight, these films weren't just entertainment. They were glimpses of the future. Which of these have you seen? And which do you think deserves a modern remake? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this trip through Forgotten Cinema, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more deep dives into classic film history.